The film begins by introducing a teenager named Davis, who is having a good time with his girlfriend. However, soon after, we learn that Davis has been arrested for drug possession with intent to distribute. The next character we meet is Angel, who has been arrested for assault and car theft. The film then introduces the main character, Butch, who is in an argument with an agent. After the agent slaps Butch several times, Butch becomes enraged and physically attacks the agent. As a result, Butch is arrested for assaulting a law enforcement officer. All three, Butch, Davis, and Angel, are sentenced to a juvenile correctional facility in Montana. After a thorough check, they are provided with their prison clothes, and the superintendent, Sands, gives them an orientation on the institution's rules and regulations. Sands highlights that weapons, drugs, knives, and pornography are strictly prohibited in the facility. Sands further tells the teens that if they have any problems or questions, they can speak to the unit supervisor, Goodyear, a man known to be strict but compassionate. Goodyear then escorts the boys to their dormitory and assigns each of them a bed. He goes on to explain the facility's different types of juvenile detainees, the uniforms they wear, and the ranking system that determines each inmate's status. The lower-level inmates wear orange uniforms, while higher-level inmates wear black pants and polo shirts, reflecting their progress and good behavior. Inmates can be promoted or demoted based on their behavior. Butch, uninterested, yawns during Goodyear's speech, prompting the supervisor to tell him he has read his file and should pay more attention. Later, Butch, while waiting to be served dinner, is antagonized by Banks, a superior and feared inmate who pours hot food on Butch's thumb. Though it could have been an accident, it is clear that Banks is asserting dominance. Butch, visibly angry but composed, ignores the incident and sits with Max, an inmate in an orange jumpsuit who is known for his rebellious attitude. Max advises Butch to ignore Banks to avoid further conflict. After dinner, Max, uninterested in making friends, leaves Butch behind, and the new inmate's first day ends peacefully. The next morning, Goodyear wakes everyone up, and the day begins with floor cleaning duties. After calling Angelo to clean, Goodyear leaves, and Banks, along with his gang members, Looney and Eckersley, approach Davis. They bully him by first pretending to be friendly and then forcing him to give up his shoes, which Banks exchanges with his own. Davis, frustrated and humiliated, reluctantly wears Banks' old boots. Meanwhile, Butch, working in another part of the facility, falls asleep while cleaning. Goodyear wakes him and orders him to continue working. Banks and his gang target Butch next, spitting on him and on the areas he has already cleaned. Butch remains calm, and Goodyear orders him to keep working. Banks and his gang leave, and Butch continues with his task as if nothing happened. Later, Banks is seen giving an inmate named Shadow a bag of illegal substances, hinting at the distribution of drugs within the facility. That night, Banks, Eckersley, and Looney return to Butch's bed while he's asleep and begin to assault him. They cover his mouth to muffle his screams and hit him in the stomach and face. Banks stops the others from hitting Butch's face to avoid visible injuries. The following morning, a guard notices that Angel has not made his bed properly and, after some disrespect, threatens him with solitary confinement. Angel quickly complies. Goodyear then tells the teens they can leave, but he keeps Butch behind to question him about the injury on his face. Butch lies, claiming he slipped and fell. Goodyear, skeptical, threatens him with solitary confinement, but nothing comes of it. Later, Butch is brushing his teeth when Banks walks by, pushing him lightly. Butch's anger is evident, and his internal conflict becomes clear. He wants to follow the rules and earn his release but also wants to stand up to the bullies. The next day, the inmates are taken outside for work, but Max, who longs for freedom, stares at nature. Meanwhile, Butch is taken to Sands' office for questioning. He sticks to his story of falling, and Sands orders him placed in solitary confinement. In the classroom, Max recites a love poem to the psychologist, but she assumes it's for her and kicks him out. Meanwhile, Banks and his gang continue their bullying by offering Davis narcotics. Davis, in an attempt to appear tough, snorts the powder, only to collapse shortly after. The bullies draw on his face and taunt him until he becomes paranoid, screaming in distress. Davis ends up crawling into the hallway, where Goodyear finds him. Goodyear forces him into a cold shower, gives him salt water to drink, and induces vomiting to remove the drugs from his system. Like Butch, Davis is sent to solitary confinement and advised to drink plenty of water. The film reveals how some of the teenage inmates have figured out a way to smuggle drugs into the facility. Meekin, a second-level inmate, smuggles various items in during trash collection. One such item is a bag of pills, which he secretly gives to Banks. After about 48 hours, Butch, Davis, and Angel are released from solitary confinement. One day, Looney and Eckersley attempt to provoke Davis while he's watching TV. After being hit on the head, Davis stands up and approaches Looney. At this moment, Angel secretly disables the security camera, and Butch storms into the room, knocking Looney out with brutal punches. He then demands to know where Banks is. The two rush to the bathroom, and Butch picks up a metal cup, intending to use it as a weapon. In the bathroom, Butch orders Davis to stand guard while he attacks Banks with the cup. Davis, in a quick and bold move, retrieves his boots from Banks. The guards soon discover the injuries to Banks and his gang, and Goodyear reprimands Butch. However, since the bullies refuse to speak up, Butch is not punished, although Goodyear angrily pushes him around. Davis's mother visits him, threatening to sue the facility, but Davis refuses her help, fearing the other inmates will torment him more. Despite everything, Butch, Davis, and Angel live peacefully, joking around and reminiscing about their past experiences. Meanwhile, Shadow attempts to recruit Butch for his gang, but Butch refuses, disapproving of the drug trade within the facility. Butch then seeks out Meekin, who is responsible for circulating drugs, and steals the pills Meekin is supposed to give to Shadow. As the days pass, the new inmates start to bond and adjust to life in the institution. One day, while in the laundry room, Butch and his friends talk about their families and plans for life after release. Soon after, Goodyear arrives and takes Butch to Sand's office. It turns out that the officer Butch assaulted had been under investigation for abusing other inmates, so Butch's actions can be viewed as self-defense. Sands informs Butch that if he behaves properly in the coming week, he might be released. Meanwhile, Hamill, a member of Shadow's gang, attacks Meekin in the dining hall for not delivering his pills. The guards search the dormitories but find nothing, as no one is willing to talk. Later, Butch confronts Shadow and, in a fit of rage, suffocates him with a piece of cloth, throwing his pills to the floor as a warning. Meanwhile, Angel draws an obscene image of a woman on the wall, which leads to a confrontation between Goodyear and Angel. In a fit of rage, Goodyear pushes Angel, causing him to hit his head and lose consciousness. Butch discovers Angel bleeding and informs the guards, leading to an investigation. Butch, who witnessed the altercation, criticizes Goodyear for not taking responsibility. Goodyear, under pressure, remains silent, and Butch is sent back to solitary confinement. Meanwhile, Looney and Eckersley, seizing the opportunity, target Davis, bullying him even further. A few days later, the tension in the dining hall is palpable as an inmate shouts "dead" in response to the deaths of two teens, signaling that all the other inmates join in. Butch throws a chair against the wall, causing a riot. The situation escalates into a violent confrontation between inmates and guards. In the chaos, Butch attacks Looney in a fit of fury, and the guards are unable to restore order with shields and batons. Sands orders the dining hall to be barricaded and calls for a special squad to intervene. The guards use smoke grenades and rubber bullets to try to control the riot. Max, seizing the opportunity, tears down a kitchen partition and leads Butch toward the garbage room. Butch offers to escape with Max, but Max refuses and returns to the chaos. After several attempts, Butch manages to break open the exit door and steps out, briefly tasting freedom. However, the guards soon capture and beat him, with one guard breaking his ankle during the struggle. Despite his pain, Butch is brought back to the institution.